How's it going, YouTube? Got FourthStarTCG here. I apologize for the lack of videos. I've been very busy as I work towards the end of my PhD degree. But today I have recently finished one of my biggest collection goals that I've been working on for several years now, and I am so excited to finally show off the completed set. So I have recently finished all set-based black and white Japanese EX full art cards in PSA 10. Now that's a lot of words, so what does that really mean? Well, it's every Japanese EX full art card from the black and white era that you could pull out of a pack, that you could open up out of a set-based pack. And there are 40 of them, and I have recently achieved all of them in PSA 10. So without any further ado, let's crack into it, starting off with Black and White 3, the first set to reintroduce EX cards, Hail Blizzard. So the first card, check that out. What a way to start. Groudon EX from Hail Blizzard, PSA 10. The texture on these cards is so incredible. The gold outline on the Pokemon, it's just mind-blowing. I was very lucky to get most of these cards before they kind of went crazy in price. Next up for Hail Blizzard, Regigigas EX Full Art. Again, just beautiful, beautiful texture. Everyone is unique and different, and it's so awesome. What's kind of great about the black and white era, and really any era before like Sun and Moon, is the number of ultra rares in the set. For example, Hail Blizzard only had 3 EX full art cards. Here's the third, Curem EX. This was the last one that I needed to complete the Hail Blizzard set. Now, Hail Blizzard had a twin. That twin was Black and White 3 Psycho Drive, combined into our English Next Destiny set. There's a big card, the mascot of Next Destinies and the bane of TCG players in the 2012 format for quite a long time, Mewtwo EX. This card was so playable and really just revolutionized the game, the big basics era. Just beautiful. Again, that texture is incredible. Next up, from Psycho Drive, we had Groudon and now Kyogre. Really, really beautiful stuff here. It's just such classic artwork. Nostalgia for black and white, I think, is starting to come up for a lot of people, especially in this era. As, yeah, it's getting over 10 years old. Shaman, probably the least exciting EX from Psycho Drive, but still very nice. Love the green, the background is wonderful in that card. Next up, Black and White 4, Dark Rush. We'll kick things off with the mascot of the set, Darkrai EX. Again, the texture on this card is just incredible. I've been lucky enough to have several PSA 10 Darkrai's come through my collection. I believe the one that I have in my set, this is the first one that I graded, a PSA 10. As you can see, PSA cert number back in the 2.3s. That's a pretty long time ago. Switching it up to one of the more recent additions to my collection is Entei EX. This took me a while to get, but very happy to finally achieve it. This was one of the last couple that I needed. I think this was part of my PSA regrade submission that I finally ended up getting the 10. Raikou EX, another awesome card. Just the gold border matches with Raikou so well, and then the texture. Yeah, this is incredible. In the past, I owned one of these Raikous in a 10. It was one of the first PSA 10 black-white full art cards that I ever got. I'll show off these Tornadus here as I tell the story. But eventually, couple of years later, I ended up selling off a lot of my black and white EX collection. Thought that I wasn't really all that interested in it and wanted to focus on other things like Japanese EX. But after I finished Japanese EX, I kind of wanted to go back to the black and white full arts. So I was happy to reclaim that Raikou. So finished with black and white 4, now into black and white 5. This is another dual set. Dragon Blade is the first one, and we have Registeel EX here. Again, even on these kind of less exciting Pokemon, the texture is so amazing. Just look at the way that Registeel, the middle of Registeel's body is textured there. The difference between that and the eyes and everything else is just so incredible. That's why I love these cards, especially in Japanese, so much. These are getting a lot harder to find. You know, over the last couple of years, it's really just been kind of off a cliff in terms of mint availability of these cards. Here's another beautiful one, Ho-Oh EX. Again, that texture is just mind-blowing. Yeah, there really are very few kind of bad black-white full art cards. As I mentioned, even when the Pokemon isn't all that exciting, there is just so much awesome stuff. Here's another huge one, Rayquaza EX. Another one that I've been lucky enough to have a couple 10s of come through the collection. Really, really cool. This part of Dragon Blade. So yeah, Dragon Blade, you get the Registeel, you get the Ho-Oh, and the Rayquaza. And then Dragon Blast is the other half of the set. Get Terrakion, the beautiful EX card there. You get Mew. Check that out. This is one of the last few that I needed. I got this in a trade. I think I traded a Rayquaza EX for a Mew EX. Pretty fair trade if you ask me. But yeah, the texture on this is so, so good. And again, the rare cards, especially the Mew, the Mewtwo, the Rayquaza, those are really, really hard to find in good condition these days. Final EX, full art from Dragon Blast, Giratina EX. Surprisingly, this is pretty valuable these days, this Giratina, which is interesting to me. You know, Giratina is pretty great, but I never saw it as being a, you know, super valuable EX card, but the price has gone up. Interesting to see what the market is valuing these days. All right, I believe that's everything from Black and White 5. Moving on to Black and White 6, another dual set. We'll start it off with Cold Flare. Black and White 6 was based off of the Black and White 2 games. So we've got White Kyurem EX, it's the first EX here in Cold Flare. Second EX in Cold Flare, Cresselia, just beautiful here. Again, the texture and the gold outline just makes this pop so much. You know, they've always outlined the Pokemon for these full art cards, but there's nothing like the original gold outline that they did. They did blue for the GX full arts. Now they're doing like a silver for the V and the EX full arts, and it's just the original gold was the way to go. I don't know what it is about these original full arts, but they just feel so much more lively and exciting than the newer full arts. Of course, the new special arts probably blow these out of the water in terms of artwork quality, but there is just something about these old full arts that is incredible. Next up, Black Kyurem EX from the Freeze Bolt set, the companion set to Cold Flare. Again, that texture is so amazing. Landorus EX, another EX from Freeze Bolt. I believe this was one of the final cards that I needed to complete my set. This is Landorus EX. I kind of like when it comes down to these less exciting ones, because usually they're not too expensive to find, and it shows that I've sort of done my set building correctly and gone after the challenging ones first. I'm at a point in my level X set, my Japanese level X set, where the last couple I need are like Gengar, Darkrai, and Palkia G, I think. Maybe there's one more that I need. But yeah, having like those big hitters as the last couple is challenging. Next up, Keldeo EX, another Cold Flare EX card. I think this was a little messed up. Didn't have all the Cold Flare and Freeze Bolt together. Yeah, Keldeo from Cold Flare, Celebi from Cold Flare. Yeah, I think the Black Kyurem was mixed in there a little bit. All right, next up, yeah, I did all that, right? Freeze Bolt. Yeah, Landers from Freeze Bolt, and then, yeah. Okay, so it was like, I just had the white Kyurem in the wrong spot. All right, moving on. Next up, we get into the Plasma sets. This is really exciting. I wasn't a huge fan of the Plasma full arts, but they had a lot of regular full arts in there as well. Cabaleon EX, not really a super exciting one. Probably one of the cheaper EX full arts, but still, that's the point of getting a complete set, and you need them all. Articuno EX. This is one where I think the Plasma background works really well. Just an amazing card. I love the continuity here with Articuno. Sometimes when you have a card that's kind of all the same color, it can bleed together. But I really like this this full art. Beautiful stuff there. Here's a big one, Lugia EX. Plasma Gale. This is another one of the last couple that I needed. Thankfully, I was able to get this grade it myself. I did not need to purchase this. The texture on this card is next level. This is one of the Plasma full arts that I'm not a huge fan of. This is where I do think everything kind of blends together. I like the XY Lugia full art much more than the Plasma full art, but still Lugia EX, a huge card in this set. Next up, Victini EX, Plasma Gale. This is another one of the last few cards that I needed. I don't remember exactly how I got this one, but it was one that I needed to purchase or trade for, I believe, instead of grading it myself. Again, it's just those, there's always a couple that you grade like 3, 4, 5 times and you just can't get the 10. The Mewtwo was like that for me. This Victini was like that for me. I'm trying to think if there were any others that I just could not get the 10 on despite grading a couple times. But all right, moving on away from Plasma Gale, now into Spiral Force, Black and White 8. This is another split set. This Deoxys, I believe this card was part of my first ever PSA submission back in the 237 certs. You know, this is just kind of crazy to think of, having a card that was part of my first ever PSA submission as a part of this set. But pretty amazing. You know, I probably submitted this card in 2014. 2 years after it came out, and here we are in 2023, now a part of the full Black and White full art set. Or set-based EX full art. I know someone's going to say, well, you don't have the Zekrom EX full art promo, so it's not really a full set. So I always have to put that disclaimer on it that it is set-based. It's cards that come out of packs. Next up, Heatran EX. I think this was another one that I just... Not that I couldn't grade one, I just couldn't find a good mint copy of it. I don't know how many I bought because it wasn't all that expensive. You know, this card was $15 for the longest time. But yeah, just couldn't figure it out, couldn't find a gem mint copy, and ended up needing to buy one. Here's an awesome one, Latios EX full art from Spiral Force. Just incredible. And this card has a wonderful story. I pulled this card myself from a booster box of Spiral Force. If I remember, I'll link it in the iCards up above. This is just an incredible thing. Probably like around 2015 or something. So really not too long after the release of this set, I was able to buy a box, probably like off of Amazon or something. It was a very weird purchase, I remember. But I pulled this Latios EX Full Art, graded it PSA 10, and again, here it is in my set. I always love those stories for cards, just seeing these cards throughout the years contribute to my set. It is wonderful. Here's another old card here, Latios EX from Thunder Knuckle. I don't believe I graded this one. I think I purchased this, don't remember when, but these cards together are just so good. I love the very similar style here. Again, beautiful Ryo Ueda art there, just fantastic. A great twins set there. Next up from Thunder Knuckle, Thunderous EX. Again, this is another plasma one that I'm not a huge fan of. This and the Tornadus EX, not really something that I would consider to be the top level of EX cards. Here's this Tornadus again. Not something that, yeah, not one of the best EX cards, but again, that's what you need when you do the entire set. You need them all. Jirachi EX from Megalo Cannon. This was a very playable card. Its Stellar Guidance ability, if I remember correctly, allowed you to search your deck for a supporter card when you played Jirachi onto your bench. We had it with Tapu Lele, we had it with Luminion V. You know, it's an ability that's been replicated many, many times, but again, back in the day, very playable, made it hard to find a gem mint copy of this card. All right, continuing with Megalo Cannon, Black and White 9, Genesect EX. This is a plasma one that I do like. I think it fits Genesect pretty good. There hasn't really been a newer Genesect full art that I've really enjoyed, but I think this one does a pretty good job. Virizion EX from Megalo Cannon. Virizion Genesect was a huge deck back in the day. Believe it ended up winning Worlds, but yeah, Virizion was great with its ability that allowed you to, any grass Pokemon that had grass energy attached or anything that had grass energy attached couldn't be affected by special conditions, which was huge in the era of Hypnotoxic Laser, which would poison you, and if you flip a coin, if you're confused or asleep, I'm not exactly sure which one it was, but special conditions were huge in that era. Virizion allowed you to basically ignore them, and then Emerald Slash, 50 damage, and you could search your deck for 2 grass energy and attach them to one of your Pokemon, if I'm remembering Virizion Genesect correctly. Next up, Palkia EX from Megalo Cannon. This is another plasma one that I do like. I think Palkia kind of stands out from the background pretty well here. The Dialga, yep, there's a Dialga. It blends in a little bit more, but still very nice. And again, I love the coherence between these two. All right, so that is it for the regular kind of main numbered sets, you know, Black and White 3 through Black and White 9. But there are EX cards in other sets. Shiny Collection. Here's Meloetta EX. Very, very nice. Shaman EX. Shiny Collection. I got lucky and I was able to find a couple of these Shiny Collection EX cards on Yahoo Japan in like 2020, 2021. They are much harder to find now. I was very lucky to get them when I did. Here's another huge one, Mew EX, one of the most expensive cards in this set. Was very lucky to grade this myself. and not have to purchase it, because it is, I think it's gone down. At its peak, it was something like a $2,000+ card. Pretty sure it's gone down from there by now, but still you're looking at over $1,000 for this card in 10. So very happy to grade it myself. And this isn't an EX card, but I just had to include this beautiful Reshiram. Again, this has gone down from its peak of like $4 grand. I think a couple of 10s sold for that neighborhood right before the Jimeno signing. But they are not going for that much anymore. I think it's probably about 2,000 now. Still a beautiful card, but I just had to include that. And as a bonus, this is not part of the official set, but I just had to include these, the Lottery EX Full Art promos, Rayquaza and Giratina EX. They're not 10s, but they're not part of the set, so they don't need to be 10s. Yeah, I just had to acquire these. Even though they're not technically part of the set, I really, really wanted these, and I was so happy to finally get them and grade them both in near mint condition. So there we go. That is my black and white full art collection, 40 cards in the official set, and I have obtained them all in PSA 10. So it's been quite a ride, but quite an amazing ride, one that I am so happy to have completed. So thank you all for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and stick around for more videos.